For decades, there's been this one patch of the Atlantic Ocean that's held a chilling grip on our imagination. It's a place where the normal rules just seem to bend, where compasses go crazy, and where ships and planes are said to just vanish. This is the legend of the Bermuda Triangle, and today we are diving deep to try and separate the fact from the fiction.
So that brings us to the big question we're tackling, right? Is there some mysterious force at work here? Or is the real story maybe a whole lot more complicated than the legends would have us believe?
Okay, so first things first, let's get our bearings. The area we're talking about forms this kind of rough triangle. You've got Bermuda at one point, Puerto Rico at another, and the coast of Florida at the third. Now, this isn't an official name you'll find on any government map, but it has become infamous as the stage for some of the most baffling disappearances in modern history. To really understand the power of this legend, we have to look at the stories that built it. And these aren't just statistics. We're talking about these haunting tales of lost crews and final frantic messages into the void.
See, the legend didn't just pop up overnight. It was built, incident by incident, story by story. So let's look at 3 of the biggest cases that really cemented the triangle's fearsome reputation in our minds.
All right, take the Carroll A. Deering. Back in 1921, this massive schooner was found run aground off North Carolina, completely deserted. The scene was eerie. I mean, food was still on the stove, like they were about to eat dinner. But the lifeboats, the ship's log, and the entire crew of 11 men were just gone. The only things left were 3 half-starved cats and this super cryptic message in a bottle found later, claiming pirates took the ship.
But the case that really, truly ignited the legend, that was Flight 19. It's December 5th, 1945. 5 U.S. Navy Avenger bombers take off from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for what should have been a routine training flight. They flew out over the Atlantic, and they never came back.
And this is where the story gets really chilling. Radio operators on the ground started picking up these panicked transmissions. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, an experienced pilot, mind you, suddenly sounded completely and utterly lost. His instruments were failing him, he was over land, but he couldn't figure out where.
The final radio transmissions, they just paint this picture of total confusion, of impending doom. And then, silence. Contact was lost for good. 5 planes and 14 men had literally just vanished from the sky.
And the tragedy, it didn't even end there. A PBM Mariner flying boat with a crew of 13 men was sent out to search for Flight 19. It, too, just disappeared from radar without a single trace, making the mystery and the death toll that much bigger. The total loss from that one afternoon, 6 aircraft and 27 men. Gone.
With a story that dramatic, people, of course, demanded explanations. I mean, how do you explain something that seems to completely defy logic? Well, the theories that came out basically fell into 2 very, very different camps.
So on one side, you have these theories that sound like they're straight out of science fiction, right? We're talking alien abductions, maybe some lingering tech from the lost city of Atlantis, or even portals to another dimension. But on the other side, scientists offered up more grounded, if still pretty dramatic, possibilities, all rooted in the really unique environmental conditions of that area.
So let's look at one of the scientific theories, this idea of magnetic anomalies. It seems to fit perfectly with what Lieutenant Taylor reported, right? Both of my compasses are out. The theory goes that some unusual geology on the seafloor in this region creates these magnetic disruptions that are strong enough to throw off navigational equipment, leading pilots and captains way off course.
And then there's a theory with a very memorable name, oceanic flatulence. I'm not making that up. This hypothesis suggests that huge bubbles of methane gas could suddenly erupt from the ocean floor, and these eruptions would instantly lower the water's density, which means a ship just floating on the surface could suddenly lose all its buoyancy and sink in seconds. No time for an SOS, no wreckage, just gone.
But what if the real mystery isn't about what happened to the planes and the ships? What if it's about how their stories were told? This brings us to a completely different way of looking at the whole Bermuda Triangle thing.
Okay, so in 1975, a librarian and pilot named Lawrence David Cush publishes a book that just changes everything. After digging through all the official records, I'm talking weather reports, Navy investigation files, old newspaper articles, he came to this absolutely stunning conclusion. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle, he argued, was a manufactured mystery, one that was built by cherry-picking facts and leaving out crucial details.
So let's go back to Flight 19, but this time with Cush's research in mind. The legend often leaves out that L.T. Taylor, while he was experienced, was new to the area and actually had a history of getting lost. He mistakenly thought he was over the Florida Keys when he was actually over the Bahamas, so he led his squadron further out into the open ocean. Radio transcripts show other pilots suggesting they fly west, which would have saved them, but he overruled them. It really just shows how simple human error, combined with some really bad weather that rolled in, created a tragedy, not some supernatural event.
And what about that search plane with 13 men on it? Well, that model of plane, the PBM Mariner, was notoriously prone to catastrophic fuel leaks. It even earned the grim nickname, the Flying Gas Tank. And get this, a tanker ship nearby reported seeing a massive mid-air explosion at the exact time and location where the Mariner vanished from radar. So it was most likely a tragic coincidence, not some single mysterious force taking out planes.
So when you strip away all the spooky stories and the embellishments, and you actually look at the hard evidence, what is the real story of the Bermuda Triangle?
Well, this is the official conclusion from NOAA, the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. They stated pretty clearly, this region, which sees a ton of boat and air traffic and is prone to hurricanes in the super volatile Gulf Stream, it shows no statistical difference in disappearances. Tragedies happen at sea everywhere. They just get a whole lot more attention here. In fact, the U.S. government doesn't even officially recognize the Bermuda Triangle. There are no lines on a map, no special files, no official designation. Geographically, officially, it simply doesn't exist. It's a name born from pop culture, not from actual cartography.
Which leaves us with one last thought. Maybe the true, enduring mystery of the Bermuda Triangle isn't about lost ships or weird magnetic fields at all. Maybe it's about us, about our fascination with the unknown and our deep-seated need to find wonder and mystery in a world that can sometimes seem a little too explained.